about the fried liver attack. Um, it's a really common beginner opening that's played in the Italian game. Um, it's really tricky if you don't like understand um, how to play it. But once you understand how to play it, even if you're playing against it, it's pretty easy to counter. Um, and today I'll be showing you both sides of how to deal with the fried liver. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this fried liver attack occurs in the Italian game. So after e4, so you play it as white. E5, knight f3, knight d6, and bishop to c4. So after bishop to c4, um, the move that black has to play to get into the fried liver is knight to f6. It's a common developing move, and this line is pretty popular. It's known as the two knights defense in the Italian game. So the fried liver attack starts off when you play knight to g5. Okay, so after knight to g5, like the main point of this move is that now you have two pieces, the knight and the bishop, that are attacking this f7 pawn. And this f7 pawn is usually like the weakest pawn for black, and f2 is the weakest for white. Um, so these two pawns are weak points as like only the king is defending them. So once you have two pieces attacking it and only the king defending it, then um, if if white gets a free move or something, or if black plays a random move, then you'll just take care with your knight, and you'll be forking the queen and the rook, right? Attacking both of them at the same time. So you're gonna gain some material. You're gonna win some points, right? So that's the point behind this move. So if you're playing against an opponent who doesn't know about the fried liver and who doesn't realize this, if they play something, a random move like say d6, right? Then you can just capture, knight captures f7, and you're basically winning. You're attacking the queen and the rook, so you play something like queen e7. You can just take the rook, and you'll be a rook up. Right? So that's the end of it. Even if this knight manages to like even if black manages to capture the knight, you'll get like a rook and a pawn for that knight, right? So it should be winning, right? So let's go back. Yeah, so if he plays any move that does not either um, support this f7 pawn or block this diagonal, the bishop, then you're just gonna capture, right? So even like 8-6 or I don't know, a6, right? So um, that's basically the point of this knight to g5 move. So now that we've considered that, um, there are basically two options. There are only two options that black has. The first one is extremely tricky, and it's an extremely um, complex variation, right? It's bishop to c5. So what the point of this move is that you actually black is allowing you to play knight captures f7, right? So you play knight captures f7. You're attacking the queen and the rook, but now what black has is he can play bishop captures on f2, and this is where things start to get messy because he sacrifices bishop. So if your opponent ever plays this against you, then I'll show you what happens. So basically, if you play king captures f2, which is not a good move, um, then I think you get knight captures on e4 check, and if you go king to e2, then you get this knight into the attack, right? So you can't play that. If you play king to e1, then I think you get queen to h4 check, and this is really overwhelming. Um, Again, even king to f1, you get queen to h4, threatening the checkmate on f7, right? So, and then again, you can just, if once black protects this, maybe like, I don't know, queen to e2, something like that, then you can either just move the rook there, and you can use this knight to your advantage because they'll still be pinned, right? Will be pinned against the king. So that's basically what happens. That's basically the point of bishop captures or bishop to c5, right? So once your opponent plays bishop captures on f2, you should not capture it. You should play king to f1, and still, I think white is winning here, um, because I think the correct move in this position is queen to e7, if I'm not wrong. But this position is still really complex, and after queen to e7, I think you'll capture here. So you play knight captures, then he'll go back with bishop to b6, and although the white king is really vulnerable out here in the open, with all these pieces coming into the attack, um, I think white still has this like the small advantage here. So that's bishop to c5. But the main move, um, and if someone ever plays the fried liver against you, this is the main move you will have to play. d5. It's a simple move. Basically, the bishop is hitting this f7 pawn, right? So if you block this diagonal somehow, then you can stop this knight captures an f7 threat. So that's the idea behind d5. And basically the only move here is in this position is e captures on d5. And now here's another trap you can set for black. If knight captures on d5 is a horrible move. It's the wrong move. So if your opponent ever plays knight captures on d5 to regain back that pawn, then basically what you have to do is sacrifice your knight. Knight captures on f7. After king captures, uh, you play queen to f3 check, and this is a deadly check because you're attacking this knight twice, and this knight cannot go back to defend or to block the check because it's pinned against this bishop, right? His bishop is pinning it. So to preserve this knight, you would have to play king to e6, and now you just get knight to c3. Three-way attack on this knight, right? I think the only move here is knight to e7, or there's also knight to b4, but knight to b4, I think you can just castle here, and if he goes knight captures here, then, or I don't think he can go knight capture there. Yeah, you can just castle here, and you'll have a nice position because actually not castles. I think you can go. No, d4 is not the right move. I think it's maybe a3. No, it's not a3 either. Uh, hmm. Let's see if you could knight captures. That's not the right move either. King. Yeah, king to d1 is a nice move. As it prevents this pawn from being captured with check. But black's position is basically ruined because next move you're gonna kick this knight away, and once you kick this knight away, it'll lose the defense of this knight, and then you're basically gonna bring this rook into the attack. And it's just gonna be horrible because this king is stuck on e6, not an ideal square for the king, right? So yeah, black is basically tied up in defense of this knight. All these pieces are tied up. Maybe you're gonna play c6 next move and then get rook to e1, and then you're following up with d4 to bust open the position. So that's basically the idea of this trap. Let's go back. That's the idea of queen f3. We go knight to king to e6, bring knight out to c3, and I don't really, knight to b4 is really risky, so let's go knight to e7. After knight to e7, you simply castle, and after something like c6, you bust open the position with d4. If he captures, basically suicidal, just go rook to e1 check, or number of good moves here. Maybe knight captures first, then rook to e1 check. Whatever you do, your king is not going to be safe. There's going to be a king hunt involved, right? So That's what happens if you play, if you capture with this knight. Your knight captures the pawn, right? So after e captures on d5, the correct move for black is, like on black's perspective, knight to a5 is the correct move, and this basically attacks the bishop, right? So this bishop is forced to move. So most common move is bishop to b5 check, and now you place, black has to play c6, then white plays d capture c6, b capture c6. Now the best move for uh, white is actually bishop to d3, but bishop to e2 is also a possible move, but bishop to d3 is the most common. And here, it's basically an equal position. White is up a pawn, but his knight's on g5, not the most ideal square. Um, Black has some good like open files, right? B file, D file is open, semi-open files. Um, uh, Black's pawn structure is quite ruined. It's like pawn islands on the queen side, but the compensation Black has is quick development, and its D pawn is blocked by this bishop, so developing is going to be a pain, because this D pawn cannot move, and then this bishop cannot come out, right? So there's some pros and cons to this position. So after bishop d3, I'm pretty sure. Let's see, what's the correct move? Um, I think. So you play bishop to d3. I think it should be bishop to c5, or it can be. Let me see. Uh, oh yeah. So the correct move would be, actually knight to d5, which basically opens up an attack on this undefended knight on g5, right? And you would be like forced to play his knight back, and then you would go, just continue development, bishop d6, straightforward moves. So basically, that's basically the fire liver attack for you. So I hope you guys learned how to play the fire liver attack, and I hope you guys can um like win with it as black, or trick people as I hope you guys can win with it as white and trick people into falling for those traps I showed you. And if someone plays this against you when you're black, then I hope you guys can easily defend against it. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.